All right, I'm back and we're going to finish up this tutorial here on the new look of Adobe Camera Pro. So we left off, we kind of went through all the different options under the edit menu. And as you make an adjustment, and I'm just going to make a large adjustment so we can see what is going on here. Down here, I talked about earlier, it's kind of, you can cycle between before and after views. So what I'm going to do is click on this, and this version over here is your before. This is your after. So you can take a look to see how it looks. If you click it again, you can get a before and after of a single image. So the left is before, the right is after. We can do it this way and this way. And then we'll click on this and we're back to the beginning. So you're just going to click on those and sort of cycle through the different images. And this is just going to let you toggle between the default, how it opened, and then how you've toned. So once again, to run through those, you can either hit the letter Q or just click on this and then slide on over here. And we're just going to toggle through the different views and different looks. It doesn't matter which one you use. It's just a matter of kind of picking them. And then once again, here is kind of before and after look of the images. Now we're going to come up here and we're going to start on this set of tools on the far right hand corner. The first one is the crop tool. And I've had a whole bunch of people ask me, where's the straighten tool? Where's the straighten tool? Where's the straighten tool? The straighten tool actually has always been available inside of the crop tool. So here's your level and here's your angle. So you can manually slide this to level something out, or you can click this level and you're going to click and drag a line on what you want to be straight, let go, and it will automatically straighten that out. So what I'll do is I'll make one so it's crooked so you can see it turn it. And then we'll just hit Command Z to undo that. So that is your straighten tool, is inside of your crop tool. It's always been there. There's just not a special icon anymore. Up here we have the aspect ratio, and this is important to note that this just changes your ratio. It is not resizing your image. It's just changing the aspect ratio. So you can come in here and pick any aspect ratio you want. So if you're going to end up printing this 5:7, you can make this 5:7. You're going to lose some information, but that's okay. We're just changing the aspect ratio. And this is non-destructive. So if I go ahead and I crop this, it's not like that is gone forever. I can basically come up here, click on the crop tool again. That information's always still going to be there. It's just hidden from view. So this is your aspect ratio. So you can do a custom one if you like, or you can use any of these presets. To use the crop tool, you can grab any one of these points and slide them. So I usually use the top right. So if I slide this, now remember we have an aspect ratio, so it's keeping that ratio. So we're sliding that. If I hold the Alt Option key and slide, it's going to slide from the, or it's going to crop from the center. Down here we have a rotate feature, so we can rotate these images around. So that's counterclockwise. This is clockwise. This is going to allow you to flip the image horizontally and vertically. And that is the crop tool. Next thing that we have here, and I'm just going to go ahead and hit escape, and that's going to remove that crop tool. Next thing we down here looks like a band-aid. It is the spot removal tool. The quick key for that is the letter B. All right, we're back. So I opened up a different image, and the reason I did that is simply because this was made for retouching. So this is going to make a lot more sense. There's not really anything to clone out in that other image. Now I'm going to zoom into this image a bit so we can see the pores and the detail in her face. And we're just going to go ahead and remove some of these imperfections that we see. Now you're going to come in here and click on that clone tool. The first one is just the healing brush, and this is really easy. The healing brush uses content aware, which automatically analyzes the data around it and then will replace whatever you paint over. So the first thing we're going to do is change this brush size because it's way too big. So we're going to make the brush a lot smaller, and we're going to make it a little bit. Usually I like to have in either Lightroom or Adobe Camera Raw to start off my feather around the center part. And it looks like we can still go a little bit smaller. And this is really easy. All you gotta do is find an area you don't like, paint over it. And what it's doing here is it's taking this and say, I'm replacing this area with this area. And we can go over here and do another one, and it's gonna replace those areas. Now, if you don't like the area that it picks, you can click and hold and drag that to a new location. And you can say, hey, oh no, I want you to clone this area. It's just removing those imperfections. We have an opacity slider so we can change how strong this is. Right now it's at 100%. The other type is the clone brush, and really it does the same sort of thing. It works sort of the same way as you paint over an area and it's going to pick a different area. But this is doing this exact spot. It's not using any AI or analyzing the area. It's literally taking this exact spot and replacing it with that spot. So once again, we'll just paint over this and it's going to take that exact spot and replace it with that spot. And just like before, we can say, hey, no, we want this area, or no, we want this area to replace that. And you would just go around and do all that. Now you can see right here, it's giving you a whole bunch of different areas or different markers where it's cloned stuff. And you can see right here on this one, the color's just a little bit off. So I would probably delete that and do this one over. And to delete something, you just select it and then you hit the delete key and then it's gone. And then you can come back over here and redo this, and that looks a whole lot better. And basically you're going to go through and clone everything out. Now, if you plan on going into Photoshop, I think the cloning and healing tools are a whole lot better inside of Adobe Photoshop. Not a huge fan of these cloning and healing brushes. For simple things, they work really good, but I just prefer using the Photoshop ones. I think they work a whole lot better. So that's cloning and healing. So we're going to just zoom back out here. And you can see those will disappear when we click on the next button. So they're out of your way. The next thing that we have here is the adjustment brush. The quick key for that is K. Now, this is probably my favorite tool inside of the program as far as adjusting. Before, when we were doing the adjustments, I called them global, meaning that when you made an adjustment, it affected the whole image. The fact is that most adjustments that you want to make on an image are selective, meaning they're only going to go to a specific area. They're not going to go to the whole image. So what we're going to do is we're just going to make a basic adjustment and we're going to apply it to a specific area on this model. Now, the way this works is very simple. First of all, we have our brush and we bring our brush out here. We can see the brush. There's a couple different ways to change the brush. They actually did move the brush up here to the top of this instead of the bottom, which is absolutely wonderful. So I'm going to slide this in. Our brush gets smaller. If I go this way, it's going to make the brush larger. And remember, things are nested under this. So we can once again change our feather. Our flow means every time you apply something, it builds up over time. So if I want to make an adjustment, I can change my flow down really low, and every time I go over it, it will become stronger and stronger. I'll show you here in a second. Density is almost like opacity. Like, are you doing it at 100%? So if you did flow and density at 100% and you made an adjustment, it would be 100% of that adjustment. I'll show you that here in just a second. Let me finish with so back on the brush. So we keep adjusting this brush here. So I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. You can also use the bracket keys next to the letter P. If I use the left bracket key, it makes it smaller. And if I use the right bracket key, it makes it larger. You can also change the brush size by holding the control key. So we're going to hold the control key and press down with the mouse, the left click on the mouse. And if I slide to the left, it makes it smaller. If I slide to the right, it makes it larger. We're controlling that brush size with that control key. Now, if I was to just come in here and brush this in, it's actually doing that. You can see that little marker that it made there, but it's not doing anything because we haven't had an adjustment or made an adjustment to it yet. So if I was to come in here and open up those shadows And I'm going to make this too much just so we can see it happening. Now, as we here and we paint this in, it's applying it. If I hold the Alt key, this switches to a minus, and I'm going to make this brush a little bit bigger, and I can paint it back out. So it's now removing the adjustment that I had. Just think of it as a adjustment eraser. So now I can go back over it, and then I can just maybe apply it to just her face. So that's the Alt Option key. And you can also click on this little eraser brush too. So if I click on this, now it's the minus eraser, and you can erase. Or click on the little icon, doesn't make a difference. So we're back to the normal brush. All right, so I've reset this, and we're gonna come in here and I'm gonna make this exposure adjustment very large. And I got this at 100%. So what I'm gonna do out here in this gray spot, I'm just gonna paint over this. You can see that it made this at 100%. It really brightened it up. Watch what happens if I change we'll do the density first. So I'll make the density 11. Now when I paint that in, it's only doing 11% of this adjustment. Or if I go over it again, it will double it and make it 20. So each time that you go over it, and you have to lift up on the click, or if I make this stronger and then go over it, it's going to make a brighter adjustment. So it allows you to progressively brighten something. Once again, I'm going to hold the Alt Option, hit reset. So we get rid of that. I'm going to make that same adjustment. This time I'm going to do flow. The difference between flow and density is density, every time you go over something, you have to let go with your mouse for it to build up. Flow, you don't let go with your mouth. As you go over it, it's going to continually get brighter and brighter and brighter. So we've got that adjustment. Now I'm just going to paint over it, and you can see each time I go over it, it's getting brighter and brighter and brighter until it's 100%. So it allows you to kind of come in here and then maybe apply a little bit more up here and a little less down here. So that is flow. So flow builds up over time, and density can build up over time. But density, you have to let go of your mouse click for it to reapply. These are fabulous tools. I actually use flow like 99% of the time. I usually do not change my density. We're going to go ahead. I'm going to hold the Alt Option key and just come down here and hit reset again so we can remove that. So the next thing inside the adjustment brush, I'm going to show you how to do different adjustments. And the first one, we're just going to come out here and we're going to make it so it's really blue. So I'm going to slide this all the way over, and I'm just going to adjust the brush a little bit, and then we're going to paint on her face and make this side of her body or her face blue. Now, once you've done that, this little marker, and you see it's red and has a black dot, that means it's the active one. So if you come down here and adjust something, it's going to be whatever you highlighted or painted in this area. So once you've finished, to make another adjustment, all you need to do is come up here and hit the plus button, and it's going to create a new adjustment. And now we're going to slide this one all the way to the right and make it yellow. And now when I paint over this side, it's making this side of her face yellow. Notice this is not active, it's white now. So it's saying this area all in here is not active. So if I adjust this slider, it's only going to adjust the active side. If I want to readjust this over here, all I need to do is click on it once. Now this is active. And if I make a different adjustment, it's going to affect that area. And then once again, if I want to come in here and fix something here, I can come and slide this and make that adjustment. And if I want to completely delete it, all I need to do is select it, hit delete, and bam, just like that. That adjustment is gone. Down here, we have something called Auto Mask. And what Auto Mask does is it tries to automatically adjust the edge of the brush. So when you get to areas like this, it doesn't bleed over and affect the outside area. You can kind of play around with it. It tells you right here as you hover over it, toggles brush edge sensitivity. So it makes it either like a stronger feather or a softer feather, more exact selection. It's not something that I use, but if you want to use it, feel free to go ahead and put that on. I almost forgot the most important thing inside the adjustment brush. They've added a hue slider. So before, you were never allowed to selectively adjust color in the image, at least intelligently. Now they got this new hue slider. So what I can do here is I can grab this and we'll just paint on her face. And then as I slide this, you'll notice it's changing that color. Now for this image, it's not going to work that great, but this will allow you to adjust the color of a color. It doesn't have the lightness or luminance adjustments, but it does have a saturation slider on it. And there's a whole myriad of reasons or ways that you can use this. It also has a fine adjustment brush. It doesn't really do anything. It just makes it so when you slide this, it's like a smaller adjustment. So you can kind of really home in on what you want. I think if you hold the Alt button, yep, the Alt button, it automatically goes into fine. And if you release the Alt, then it's back to the normal slider. So that's new. And it's this color slider or hue slider inside of the adjustment brush. And that is going to be inside of this graduated filter and the radial filter as well. All right, so I've clicked on the next thing, which is the graduated filter, which is the letter G. And I switch back to the dog photo because it's just going to make more sense on how this works. So I'm just going to come in here and I'm going to start up here. I'm going to draw down, and notice as I rotate, I can change the angle of this. I'm just going to line this up with a horizon line. So the way a graduated filter works, it works with a mask, and you can see, so I've dialed this exposure in pretty strong so we can see how it's working. Down here, it's not really applying this exposure adjustment, but as we get higher, it's adding more and more and more. It's graduating it so it gets stronger as we go up, and it's giving it a more realistic effect. And then you can always come in here and further adjust this. Also come to this point and kind of slide it down or slide it up and continually adjust how this graduated filter is working. Now overlay just shows you this. So if I turn overlay off, it shows you the graduated adjustment, turn it back on. Not really helpful. There's also a masking option, and the mask is actually what creates this little graduated filter right here. So I'm going to turn the mask on. I've changed my mask color to red. You just need to click on that and you can click any colors, and notice it's saying red indicates that it's the affected area, or you could switch it to unaffected area. Doesn't matter. I've changed mine to red so I can see it. We'll just go like that. And so red, and notice it's getting softer and softer because as the mask works, it's applying less until it doesn't change anything down here. So that's how mask works. Now you can come in here and use the adjustment brush, and we can also use auto mask, and the auto mask is going to help kind of select the area. It's going to try to read this area. So in this case, I made an adjustment, but what if I don't want it to affect the dog? I can come in here and just automatically paint that. Now, auto mask recognized the edge of the dog and didn't put it out in the sky. So I'm going to make this brush even smaller because the tail is so small. And then we'll just come over here and paint. Now you can see I messed up that little area. That's not a big deal. We can just hit either Command Z, redo it. So I'll make my brush smaller. So you can remove an area that you don't want, or you can erase an area as well. And inside this, once again, we do have this new hue slider. The radial filter, and I'm just going to hit the Alt key and we're going to reset this because I don't want to have that effect. We're going to come down here. The radial filter works exactly the same as the graduated filter that I said, except for this time it makes like a circle. So now when I make this adjustment, it's only affecting the area outside of this circle. So as I slide this and make it darker, everything outside of the circle is getting darker. I can click this invert button and then it inverts the way. So now it's inside, which I think usually makes more sense. And you can do multiple ones of these. It's not like you just need to do one. So I come down here and draw a second one and make an adjustment. So the radial filter makes sort of a circular adjustment. I'm going to hit Command Z. I want to make a perfect circle. All you need to do is hold the Shift key and draw, and it's going to make a perfect circle. And that is the radial filter. And once again, we're going to hold the Alt key and reset that. The next thing is, I don't have any images with red eye reduction. If you know how to use Flash, you're never going to get red eye, but basically you come in here, you click on an area that has red eye, and it will do its best to fix it. Next thing that we have here are snapshots. So as I make adjustments, and let's go back in here and just make it an adjustment. We're going to come back down here to snapshots. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a snapshot. So I'm going to click this and we'll just leave it as untitled and I'll hit OK. What this allows me to do is toggle between different spots. So I'm going to go back up here and I'm going to make another adjustment. We use the basic and we're going to make the color really weird. Then we're going to come down here to create a new snapshot. And we'll do this one as color. Now watch what happens. If I click on this, it's automatically going to go back in time to this adjustment, but not with the color. If I go to the color one, it's going to go back in time. But it allows you, if you're working on an image and doing a lot, you can create snapshots in a history so you can go back in time as you work. Once again, we're going to reset that and clear those out so we're good. And the last thing down here are presets, and presets are really easy. They're not anything special that you cannot do your own, but they're basically little presets of adjustments to do specific things. So we can come in here and click this and it's automatically gonna make an adjustment. So it's making a bright adjustment or a vivid adjustment. And if you go into the edit menu now, you'll see these adjustments here. Now, just because you hit a preset, you can still come in here and adjust that preset further. I'll tell you that off the bat, presets don't work perfect for every image. They're just kind of a general rule of thumb, and you have to kind of know how the program works so you can kind of go into it and then readjust it to make it work perfect for each image. So we'll come down here, we'll try soft mist, and as you hover over these different things, it's showing you what that effect is going to look like. I'm not going to go through all these, but all these are different presets that you can use inside of the program. You can save your own presets if you want. So I'm not going to get into those today, but basically, if you click on this, come in here and click a preset. So if you make an adjustment and think that adjustment is really cool, or let's say you did a series of 10 headshots and you want to tone them all exactly the same, a preset would be a way to recreate the adjustments that you did. However, you can sync adjustments, and I have a video just specifically on syncing adjustments. So we're going to go ahead and click off that. The next thing that we have down here are just these three little dots, and basically we can reset this to how it was open. It's been reset, reset to default, previous conversion. So if I made an adjustment to this picture of this dog, and I opened it up in Photoshop, and then I opened up another similar one, I can click on previous conversion and it's going to make all the adjustments that I made there on this image. This I actually use a lot. You can apply a snapshot to an image. You have the ability to export your settings to XMP. So basically you're saving those to your XMP file. You can load your settings, you can save your settings, and you can set your raw defaults here as well. Down here we have the move tool. So if you were to zoom in, this is Command plus to zoom, and then I click on the hand tool, you can move around. However, you can also, like I said before, just hit the space bar and that will give you the move tool as well. This is a color picker, so this will allow you to sample colors. So if I come up here, I can sample that color right there. And down here, this just gives you a grid overlay if that's helpful. You can adjust the size and the opacity of the grid down there. If this video has been helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. If you have any comments or questions, you can always leave those below. And don't forget to subscribe.